ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨ ਜਾਨਾ ਨਾਹਿਨ ਨਿਰਮਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਕੈ ਅੰਚਲ ਲਾਵਹੁ ਬਿਖਮ ਨਦੀ ਜਾਇ ਤਰਣੀ ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਸਾਰ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਭ ਤੇ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਜਿਨ ਕਲ ਰਾਖੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਤੇਰੇ ਜੋਰ ਮੈਂ ਗੂੰਗਾ ਕਹਤਾ ਹੂੰ ਤੇਰਾ ਸਦਕਾ ਤੇਰੀ ਸ਼ਰਨ
ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਭੁਗਤ ਗਿਆਨ ਦਇਆ ਭੰਡਾਰਨ ਘਟ ਘਟ ਵਾਜਹਿ ਨਾਦ ਆਪ ਨਾਥ ਨਾਥੀ ਸਭ ਜਾ ਕੀ ਰਿੱਧ ਸਿੱਧ ਅਵਰਾ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਜੋਗ ਵਿਜੋਗ ਦੋਇ ਕਾਰ ਚਲਾਵਹਿ ਲੇਖੈ ਆਵਹਿ ਭਾਗ ਆਦੇਸ ਤਿਸੈ ਆਦੇਸ ਆਦ ਅਨੀਲ ਅਨਾਦ ਅਨਾਹਤ ਜੁਗ ਜੁਗ ਏਕੋ ਵੇਸ ਭੁਗਤ ਗਿਆਨ ਦਇਆ ਭੰਡਾਰਨ ਘਟ ਘਟ ਵਾਜਹਿ ਨਾਦ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਪਤਿਤ ਪਾਵਨ ਭਗਤ ਵਤਸਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਖਜ਼ਾਨੇ ਜੋਤ ਰੂਪ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀਓ। We're blessed again to be gathered in the Saad sangat, continuing to learn the teachings of Sri Japji Sahib, the Bani that gives us that order to jap, to repeat the name of the Lord, Akal Purkh Vaheguru, and through repeating the name of the Lord, we gain the Mahatma of that Bani, which gives us Brahma Gyan, the knowledge of Vaheguru, breaking us free from the 8.4 million lives, making us one with Vaheguru. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, in this section of discussion with the Siddhs, in the previous Pauri, the Siddhs are starting to explain their way, their methods, their teachings. They are trying to persuade Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji to join their way. They are explaining the importance of their way and their chins, their nishaniya, what they do, what they carry. They talk about the earrings, the mundara. They talk about the staff that they hold. They talk about the cloth that they wear that covers their body, the begging bowl they carry, and the satchel. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji explains to them what those things should actually mean. They should have content, or they should be content. They should have santokh. They are the earrings that they should be wearing. They should have shame and respect. They should have concentration and contemplation. They are the begging bowls and the satchel that they should carry. Their cloth that they cover their body with, that is their body. They should do good actions with their body. The body that houses their soul in this world, in this life. The staff should be the support and the constant support of Akal Purkh Vaheguru. And we learned that last time. And Guru Sahib Ji explained that the greatest way, the greatest panth, the greatest path is the path of humanity and the brotherhood in this world, the brotherhood of the Saad sangat, the Khalsa panth, which breaks us free from the 8.4 million lives. The Siddhs continue explaining their ways to Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji. They explain to them about their place where they stay, about how they are given food, about how food is given to the rest of the Siddhs. They explain about Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, that they can be in charge of this place which houses the Siddhs. They can be in charge of all the food, all the offerings that have been given to the Siddhs. They can be in charge of giving those out. They can be in charge of giving and not giving, making decisions, becoming the ultimate Nath. Nath meaning the leader of the Siddhs. And they can, if they practice the ways, they can gain the Riddhiya Siddhiya. They can gain the Riddhiya Siddhiya, the spiritual or occult powers, as they lead the Siddhs into the world and propagate the teachings of the Siddhs, the yogi way. Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji continues this section of the discussion in Sri Japji Sahib about the Siddhs and explains to them and teaches us at the same time what the food, the person in charge of the food, the sound that is made when they're calling the Siddhs to the food, to their langar. Guru Sahib Ji explains to the Siddhs in this Pauri what the deeper spiritual meanings of those should be and what the Siddhs should develop within their lives. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji continues.
Satnam Sri Vaheguru Sahib Ji Bhugat Gyan Daya Bhandaran Ghat Ghat Vajhe Naad.
So where the Siddhs stay in their place, in their spiritual place or their yogic place, where the collection of Siddhs stay, and obviously during that place where they stay, in their sanctuary, wherever they stay, the Siddhs obviously have to eat, and what they eat is called bhogata. Bhogata is a food made from butter, from sugar and from flour. And what they do is they take those pieces and they are given to the Siddhs during the day, because the Siddhs don't eat much food. So they just eat and they live off that. And then they have somebody who's in charge of making that for them. Making that food and sharing that food. And that person is called a Pandaran, in charge of the ras, in charge of the ingredients. And that person in charge is usually a Bibi. It's usually a Mai who makes that food and gives it out to the Siddhs. And when the Siddhs, when the food is prepared and it's made, how do they call the Siddhs? As they are practicing their yogic ways, they are called by hitting a drum, making a sound. And then the Siddhs hear that sound, and then they come and they go and they collect their food. They collect their food, they eat it, and they go back into their ways of practicing this yoga, which they feel is developing them spiritually, but also gains them Riddhiya Siddhiya, occult powers. It helps them live longer lives. And in that way, they feel they are becoming closer to Vaheguru, because their thinking or their thoughts on being immortal and not being immortal through the 8.4 million lives. Their ways of being immortal is by living forever. And Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji explains, Bhogat Gyan, that food that you eat, that food that you take, called Bhogat, of flour, sugar and butter. The true food for a saint, for a spiritual person, is Gyan, is knowledge. And the ultimate knowledge is Brahma Gyan, knowledge of Akal Purkh Vaheguru. And true knowledge is only when you've experienced something. Because when you've experienced it, that's when you have the knowledge of it. For example, we've used this example many times. If you're going to a different town and you're giving somebody directions, if you haven't been to that town yourself, it's like you're getting third-hand knowledge or second-hand knowledge. And you're describing which way for that person to go and where that place they're meant to go. However, if you've been to that place and you know every street, corner, you know every path, you know every park, every place, then when you describe that place, you describe it to a T, you describe it perfectly. You have true knowledge of that place. So you have knowledge, what you have is second-hand knowledge, or you have true knowledge because you've experienced that place, you've been there. So true knowledge, or Brahma Gyan as we call it, is Gyan, is knowledge of Vaheguru. And you only have that knowledge if you're one with Vaheguru and you've broken free from the 8.4 million lives. Because when you break free from the 8.4 million lives, that is when you are one with Vaheguru and you gain true knowledge. For us though, what is knowledge? There are different stages of knowledge, of Gyan. The first stage of knowledge is understanding why we are in this world. When we're born, when we start growing older, we gain knowledge of our parents, of our families, of our friends, of society. We think about work, education, making money, developing materialistically. But what is the first level of knowledge is understanding why we are here. Have we been blessed with that knowledge? We come to the sanctuary of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. We know they are the embodiment of Akal Purkh Vaheguru, Dasa Padshahan di Jyot, the Jyot of the 10 Gurus, the Gurus from Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji to Tan Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. Their Jyot is contained in Gurbani. Vaho Vaho Bani Nirankar hai, tis Jevad Avarna Koi. So Gurbani is Nirankar, is Vaheguru. We know that, but have we got that knowledge of why we are here? Have we got that knowledge of we're here to break free from the 8.4 million lives? And then the second stage is if we have that knowledge, we need knowledge of knowing how to break free. So the first stage of knowledge is understanding that that is what the meaning of life is, to break free, to become one with Vaheguru, to stop our coming and going, being born and dying. And then the second stage of knowledge is understanding how to do that. How do we break free? And then we understand through the teachings of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. We understand that we have to listen And when we listen, we start to understand the meanings behind Gurbani. So we get the third stage of this knowledge. We start understanding the meanings because we are listening. And when we start understanding the meanings, we start believing. We have faith. Because the third stage then is once we start listening, once we know what we're here for, once we know what we have to do, and we start doing it, and we start understanding what the Shabad is saying, we start believing in it. We have faith in it. So the knowledge of having faith. Because if we don't have faith, it's alright having that knowledge, but if we don't have faith with what we're doing, or the knowledge of that faith, we cannot believe in what is happening. And if we don't believe in what is happening, we don't act on those teachings, we don't follow those teachings, we don't follow the command of Vaheguru, of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And if we don't act on it, so that we need that knowledge of acting on the hukam, acting on the command, following the teachings. And when we begin to follow those teachings, we then develop spiritually, and ultimately we gain this true knowledge of Brahm Gyan, because we then have cleaned and cleansed and burnt away all the karam that we have come with, all those actions we brought from our previous lives that are collected. We burn them away by repeating the name of the Lord. And those actions that keep bringing us back into this world to either repay, and then we collect more, so we have to repay more, and it's this endless cycle. We break free from that cycle because we burn all those away. We burn all those away, we break free, there are no actions to come back for. And when there are no actions to come back for, no karam to come back and pay for, then we are free, we experience Vaheguru, we are one with Vaheguru, we have the true knowledge of Vaheguru. And that is the Gyan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is talking about to the Siddhs and to us. The food that we should take is knowledge. We're only going to get that knowledge, or begin to get that knowledge, from the teachings of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Even if we don't understand, we have learned through Japji Sahib by reciting Sunaya Sat Santokh Gyan, by listening. Once we are reciting the name, once we are reciting Gurbani, we get given that knowledge. We're blessed with knowledge. We've heard that in a previous discussion, a previous story of Sri Japji Sahib, that by listening you gain knowledge. So you start understanding what is being said. So the only way is to repeat. And when we started this discourse and we started learning about Sri Japji Sahib, I did a beinti to everybody. If we don't know Japji Sahib or we don't know Gurmukhi, we should learn Gurmukhi so we can recite Sri Japji Sahib. So we can learn the teachings for ourselves, we can be blessed for ourselves. If we know Gurmukhi and we can recite Japji Sahib, we should do it at least once a day. And if we can do it at least once a day, we should increase, or if we already do it once a day, we should increase the amount of times we do it. 5 times, 10 times, 25 times. And if we do it, and we recite Sri Japji Sahib many times a day, we should memorize it. And we should memorize it so we can do it wherever we go. And that is the beinti that we did at the start, and it's a beinti we're continuing as we're coming towards the end of Sri Japji Sahib. That is the true knowledge, and we're only going to get the true knowledge by reciting, repeating the name, reading Gurbani. If we don't read Gurbani, there is no way we can break from the 8.4 million lives. There is no way we will burn our karams, and we'll keep coming back and forth. And it's easy to say we enjoy our life and we're happy with this luxury. We want materialism. But ultimately, that materialism or those good actions that we've done, we'll have gained those, we would have been paid for those good actions through this luxury, and only bad actions will remain. And if bad actions remain, we will then have to go through lives which we deem not being positive. And there's many lives in this world. Humans go through bad and animals go through bad. And we know many of those. I don't have to describe those of what could be bad in life. And we'll have to face up to that because all our good actions will have been used. So the only way is by learning, by knowledge. And the only way we're going to get that knowledge is by the teachings of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is telling the Siddhs and us, the food we should eat, the bhogat we should take is Gyan, is knowledge. And then when we get that knowledge, Daya Pandaran. Pandaran is the person who distributes the food. The Bibi, the Siddhs had a Bibi who used to make the food and distribute it within the Siddhs. But Guru Sahib Ji is saying, Daya should be our Pandaran. Daya, compassion. Because without compassion, we will be greedy, we will have attachment, our ego and our anger and lust will want us to have everything for ourselves. If we have compassion, we will be able to share. So that Pandaran who shares the food out to all the Siddhs, we have to be thinking, what's the Pandaran for us? Should be compassion. Because without compassion, we won't be able to share anything out. We won't be able to respect the creation, serve the creation, because the creation is ultimately the form of Vaheguru. And by serving the creation, we are serving Akal Purkh Vaheguru. What does Daya do? What does compassion do? Is there an example of compassion? Tan Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji, when they were given the Gurgaddi, when they became the third Guru of the Sikhs, they settled in a place called Goindwal Sahib. Goindwal Sahib is a famous place for the Sikhs where there's a Bauli Sahib, a well, which Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji blessed, and there are 84 steps. And if you go down to the bottom of the Bauli Sahib and you do Ishnan, Kesi Ishnan, and then you recite a Japji Sahib on the first step, and then you go down and do Ishnan again and recite on a second step, and you continue doing that, reciting 84 Japji Sahibs in a row, constantly going up and down those steps, doing Kesi Ishnan as you go to the next step. And if you do begin that with an Ardas in Maharaji's Hajuri and complete it with an Ardas in Maharaji's Hajuri without speaking to anybody from start to end, completely going through those Ishnan onto one step, Ishnan onto the second step, and reciting Japji Sahib on each step, Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji blesses that Gursikh with what we call mukti from the 8.4 million lives from coming and going and breaking free. And when Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji became the Guru of the Sikhs, they stayed at Goindwal Sahib, at that place where Bauli Sahib is. Now the sons of Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji, our second Guru, Pai Dasu and Pai Datu, they were jealous of Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji. They were jealous because they felt it was their right for themselves to become the Guru of the Sikhs. And when Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji settled, it is accounted for that by Datu, one of the sons of Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji, came to Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji with a lot of anger. And they saw Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji on the Gurgaddi, on the throne of the Sikhs at Goindwal Sahib. And there were many Sikhs there rejoicing. And Bhai Datu kicked Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji out of jealousy, out of anger. Kicked them off their throne. The Gursikhs at that time held Bhai Datu out of respect for their Guru, because no one should be able to disrespect the Guru. Not in this day and age, not in that day and age. But Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji showed that compassion and actually apologized to Bhai Datu and said, "You are the son of my Guru, Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji, and I should have got off my throne when you arrived, off the Gurgaddi. I should have stood up out of respect because you are the son of Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji, my Guru." So even though they were kicked out of jealousy and anger, they showed compassion. They didn't shout. They stopped the Gursikhs from doing anything to Bhai Datu, and they showed their compassion and showed their humbleness. They even continued to say, "I am an old man. My bones have hardened over these many years, and when you have kicked me, my bones might have hurt your foot. I'm sorry for that." That's how much humbleness and nimrata they showed. They showed that compassion to Bhai Datu, not being angry, and just respected them as the son of Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji. Now the Sakhi continued that Bhai Datu Ji, Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji left Goindwal Sahib the next day and went to their village Bazarke, where they came to this world. And Bhai Datu took all the belongings of the Guru Kar, but on the way back to his house to Khadur Sahib, he was robbed by bandits and beaten. And then he had to apologize to the Guru and he was forgiven. Again, Guru Sahib showing compassion. So that is the kind of compassion we must show. And when we show compassion, the good action of compassion, we can be blessed. Another Sakhi of a previous age, the king of a place called Gajni in India, he didn't have no sons, but he had a servant, and historically the servant has been given different names. So this servant at one time went into the jungle, and when he went into the jungle, he saw a deer, and he saw a deer, and the deer ran off when he saw, and he followed. And as the deer ran off, he took his eyes, gazed upon the child of the deer. And the child of the deer couldn't run as fast, and he managed to catch it. And he picked it up, tied it round its four legs, and started dragging it and carrying it off so he could use, obviously, for the feast, for the king. Now the deer saw this and started following. And as he was dragging the child of the deer, this servant of the king, every time he would stop to look behind, the deer, being a little bit fearful, would stop also. And when this servant would sit down, the deer would sit down. But when he would get up and carry on walking, the deer would carry on walking. And he was amazed how the deer would just follow, not attack, because the deer was fearful itself. And when he stopped at one point and he looked back, he saw the deer and he saw tears dropping out of the deer's eyes. When he saw those tears, he was blessed with compassion. And he realized he did wrong because that was the child of the deer. He untied it and he gave it back and he walked back to the deer and handed it over. Now, just like a parent would, the deer hugged its child, looked at its legs where it was tied to make sure everything was fine, rubbed its face, just like animals do, rubbed its face on the face of its child. You could see, or he could see the excitement in the deer. And when he saw this excitement, he realized that he had done wrong, and in his own way, in his mind, he begged for forgiveness. He was blessed with compassion at that point, because that deer's child was only going to be killed, slaughtered and eaten. The deer stood and stared at his servant. And in some ways, the deer within itself, within its mind, spoke and thanked this servant. Although the servant wouldn't know, but it seemed that way. That this deer, the parent deer, was thanking the Lord and thanking this person for letting its child free. That night when this servant went home, he had a dream. And he had a dream and he saw this spiritual person, a saint, came to him and said, because you showed compassion to the deer, you will now be blessed by becoming a king. A few days passed and the king of Gajni passed away, and because he had no sons, this servant was blessed by being the next king. So even by showing compassion, materialistically, just like in this story, you are blessed. He probably in his mind wanted materialism, and therefore he was blessed with that. However, if we feel we want to break free from 8.4 million lives, to become one with Vaheguru, to develop our relationship with Vaheguru, then showing compassion, whatever our mind wants, we will be blessed by Guru Sahib Ji. And if we want spirituality, we want to break free, Guru Sahib Ji will bless us just by showing one form of compassion. So something we need to take away. Compassion is generally gone from this world. People live their lives only for themselves, in a selfish way. And compassion is something which is missing. But with Guru Sahib Ji's Kirpa, if we take this teaching of having compassion, then we be blessed with anything we want. So Guru Sahib Ji is telling the Siddhs and explaining to us that the Pandaran, the person who shares the food And us, what should we have? We should have compassion. That is our pandaran. Kat kat vaje naad. Now, like I said earlier, when the Siddhs would be called, the pandaran would bang this drum or this instrument and call the Siddhs. So naad is that instrument. Vajje is to hit it. But what is that instrument for us? What is Guru Sahib Ji telling the Siddhs? That you have this instrument. Because they were trying to say to Guru Sahib Ji, you'll be in charge of all of this. You will decide when that instrument is going to be played. You will decide when the food is going to be made. You will decide when the food will be distributed. You will be in charge. We want you to join our path. But Guru Sahib Ji said that instrument is our heart inside. And as our heart beats, we repeat the name of Vaheguru. And then as we're repeating the name of Vaheguru, kat, in every part of our body, in every molecule, in every atom, in every particle, that word Vaheguru develops. Gurmukh rom rom harte ave. It goes through by repeating by our tongue. It goes into our kant, repeating quietly, repeating in our mind. We hear a tuni, and from our tun, we hear that sound. And as we practice repeating that name, that sound develops to our roms. Gurmukh rom rom harte ave, where our Ks come out of our body. And that's why we do not respect our Ks from the bottom of our toe to the top of our heads. Because where those Ks come from, the pause, that is where Vaheguru is heard. And then, as it comes out of those pores, we start hearing Vaheguru in every particle of our body and every particle of creation. Just like Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, when they asked, why are you feeding the Mughals, why are you giving them water? And Bhai Kanhaiya Ji says, everywhere I look, I see you, Guru Sahib Ji, because he can see Vaheguru in kat. In other words, he can see Vaheguru in every particle, in every bit of creation. And Guru Sahib Ji is telling this and telling us, we should begin that repetition of the name of the Lord. And as we develop spiritually, that sound that we hear will be the name of the Lord, and we will be able to hear it in every particle, not just in every particle of our body, but in every particle of creation.
Aap nath nathi sab jaki riddha siddha avara saad.
So the Siddh said, you can become the master of the Siddhs, the Nath. Just like Gorakh. Gorakh is known to be the king of the Siddhs. And if you translate his name, if you split up his name, what does his name mean? Gorakh. Go meaning Prithvi, Prithvi meaning this creation, this world. Rak means to do rakya, to look after. So you can be the Gorakh, you can be the Nath, the king, the master, who looks after all the Siddhs. And Guru Sahib Ji said, Aap Nath, Nathi Sab Jaki. There is only one Nath, there is only one master. That master is Akal Purkh Vaheguru. And for us, it's Nirankar, Akal Purkh Vaheguru. But we are blessed as Sikhs because we have the Sargun Swarup of that master in the form of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. We have the Jyot of that master in the form of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So we have that master physically as well as spiritually. We have that master in Sargun form, all characteristics, as well as the Nirgun form, which we are trying to become one with. So we are blessed as Sikhs to have that master on this earth and sit in his sanctuary. And Guru Sahib Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is telling the Siddhs, there is one master, and that master is Vaheguru, the Lord God, who is the giver, the organizer, and the deliverer of ourselves back into themselves. Aap Nath, Nathi Sab Jaki. Nathi means they are the ones who look after. They are the true Gorakh, who looks after their creation, who does Rakya of their creation. They do the Nathi of their creation. And the Siddh said, yes, but if you practice our ways, then you will gain occult powers, spiritual powers. And you can use those powers to control Maya, to control materialism. And you can gain materialism whenever you want it. Those occult powers are called Riddhiya Siddhiya. There are actually 18 Siddhiya that the Siddhs, and their name comes from, Siddhiya comes from their name, Siddhs come from that word, Riddhiya Siddhiya. Because what they would practice yoga for is to gain these Siddhiya. And that's why they were known as Siddhs. And Guru Sahib is saying, Riddh Siddh Avara Saad. Avara meaning other, Saad meaning swad, taste. That is a different line. That is a different taste. That is not the line of a spiritual person. You call yourself spiritual Guru Sahib Ji said to the Siddhs that you are being caught up in these riddhiyan siddhiyan, these occult powers. You are being excited by these powers. And that is a different way, a different path, a different swad, a different taste. The taste, the swad, the path of a Gursikh is the path of spirituality, is the path of Nishkam Seva, not asking for anything. It's the path of understanding the hukam. It's a path of accepting the hukam, accepting the karmas that they have done in their previous lives and taking on and paying for what they had to do and accepting that because they are constantly repeating the name of the Lord. And they know the Lord is protecting them. Nathi Sabjaki, they are being looked after by the Lord. And so they don't need these Riddhiyan Siddhiyan. Now we hear this Riddhiyan Siddhiyan constantly in Gurbani. What is one of these Riddhiyan Siddhiyan? Now there are 18 of these. There are 10 which are, there are 8 which are the major Siddhiyan, and there are 10 which are the minor Siddhiyan. And they go in the form of reading, being able to understand somebody's mind, making your body heavy, making your body light, making your body very large, making your body very small, reading somebody's mind, making them follow what you say, making them under your vas. These are like some of the major Siddhiyan, and then some of the minor ones are going from place to place, coming outside of your body, your spirit. And in this day and age of Kaljug, you might think these things are impossible, and in the world of science, they would be said to be impossible. But these are spiritual ways, or ways that spirituality can give you these. But Guru Sahib Ji is saying, when we develop spiritually, we see this, our brain functions, or our functions that we cannot see in this physical world of Kaljug because we're caught up in society. And through spirituality you see all these different things, but Guru Sahib is saying that this is a different way. We don't follow this, we don't get caught up in this. And the Siddhs would use yoga to try and gain these Riddhiyan Siddhiyan, these magical powers. And Guru Sahib is saying these powers do exist, but it's not the way of a Gursikh. We don't get attached by these. And like I said, for some of us, not having experienced those and not understanding those, and in the way of this modern world, as we call it, the world of science, we don't believe that these things can happen. But there are many occurrences where you hear of small things, but science obviously knocks these down. But Guru Sahib is saying these things do exist, however, they are not the way of a Gursikh. And Guru Sahib is saying that the true master is a Kalpurkha Vaheguru. He looks after the world. We don't need to get involved in Riddhiyan Siddhiyan, occult powers, because the way for a Gursikh is the way of spirituality.
Sanjog vijog doe kar chalavahe lekha avahe pag.
So the Siddhs continued saying to Guru Sahib Ji that you can be in control, you can order us good things, when you're in command of us Siddhs, if you want to give us good things, if you want to be good to us because you'll be in charge, you can give us positives. If you want to give us negatives, if there's a Siddh that goes off track, you can give them negatives. You can look down bad on them, you can punish them. You will be in charge of us all. And Guru Sahib Ji is saying, Sanjog vijog doi kar chalavahe. This world lives on Sanjog vijog. Your karam are the ones who make out what your life is, what's going to happen in your life. Sanjog, if we do good actions and we ask for materialistic good things, then we sanjog. Sanjog meaning when we get good, when we live in a life of luxury, and vijog, when we have to lose a loved one, when somebody passes away, when bad things happen to us, we call that vijog. So Guru Sahib Ji, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is explaining sanjog vijog doi kar chalavahe. We live in this world through sanjog and vijog. Lekhe avahe pag. Our blessings, the pag, are given to us by our actions. Lekhe avahe pag. The lake that is written on our forehead, the paralabh that we've talked about, those actions that we've collected, that have been given to us and sent through in this life, that is what decides what we are going to be given and what is going to be taken away from us. So the Siddhs are explaining to Guru Sahib Ji that you can be in charge of what is given to us and taken away from us, but Guru Sahib Ji is saying it's not me who will decide, it's your actions that decide what is given and what is taken away. The time of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, when Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji was given the Gurgaddi, was deciding who the next Guru of the Sikhs would be, we all know that was to be Bhai Lehna Ji, Tan Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji. But at that time, their sons, Baba Sri Chand and Bhai Lakshmi Das, they wanted the Gurgaddi. And they were expecting to be given this Gurgaddi or the Guruship, or one of them was to be expected. They thought that this Gurgaddi, this lineage would stay in the family. But Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji always said that the Guru of the Sikhs, when anybody would ask, would be the person who is the true sevak of Akal Purkh Vaheguru, the true sevak of the Guru. And at one time, Guru Sahib Ji tested his two sons and tested the Gursikhs. Now, these days we drink milk or we drink things in glasses and we are in cups, in steel cups. In those days they would have like bowls, like batte, made of pittal, made of brass and made of iron. And one time Guru Sahib Ji threw one of those bowls into like a swamp, into mud. And they asked their sons to get that bowl out. And Baba Sri Chand said, refused. He refused. He said, I don't want to go into that swamp because I will get really dirty going into that swamp, getting that bowl out. And then he looked over to his second son, Bhai Lakshmi Das, and even he refused. Then he looked over to Bhai Lena Ji, and Bhai Lena Ji jumped into the swamp, not worrying about becoming dirty, becoming smelly, and pulled out that bowl, cleaned the bowl, and put it into the charan of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji. And then when it was time, Bhai Lena Ji had the bag, had the blessings of those good karam that they've done, showing us that we should not worry about anything when we're doing the seva of the true Guru. And if we do the seva of the true Guru, only positives will come to us, whether those positives be materialistically or whether those positives are spiritual, breaking free out of the 8.4 million lives. So in that Sakhi, Guru Sahib Ji has shown that the true sevadar, the true Gursikh, is one who does positive actions, good karam, and always follows the command of their Guru. And if they do that, they can be blessed with, as Bhai Lena Ji did, the Gurgaddi, but they can be blessed with whatever they wish in this world, whether it be materialistic, whether it be spiritual. But we have learned through Sri Japji Sahib that only asking for materialistic things are wasting our positive actions. So ultimately we should be asking and begging daily to break free from the 8.4 million lives, to develop spiritually so we can become one with Akal Purkh Vaheguru. So Guru Sahib Ji is explaining to the Siddhs and us that it's only through our actions that are we going to be blessed in this life. And no matter what we have brought, no matter what we have brought from our previous actions, we accept that hukam, we accept that command, we live this life, but making sure we sow positives for the future so we can break free from the 8.4 million lives.
Ades Tisai Ades.
And Guru Sahib Ji completing this body is saying Ades Tisai Ades. Namaskar. Namaskar is yours. I bow down, I praise to the great Lord Vaheguru, the giver, the organizer, the deliverer of ourselves. But if we want to translate Ades and split it up, we can say and then Des. Meaning Ang. Vaheguru, who has no Ang, has no body, is formless. Des meaning a body. So how do we translate that? So Ang means Vaheguru, who has no body but is present in everybody's body. Ades. And this Ades, I praise the Lord, who is formless himself but exists in all his creation.
Adi Anil Anad Anahat Jug Jug Eko Ves.
Ad, the primal Lord, here before the ages. Anil we said is like a dag, kalak. Anil meaning without any dag, outside of Maya, completely pure. Anad has no beginning themselves. So even though they're here at the start, they're infinite. They have no beginning and they have no end. Anahat we described as being something that plays themselves. Like we said, a musical instrument, it needs a musician to play an instrument. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is the musician and is the instrument all at the same time. Ad, Anil, Anad, Anahat, Jog Jog Eko Ves, and they are one form throughout all the ages. Ad Sach, Jugad Sach, Happy Sach, Nanak Hosi Pi Sach, as we hear in the Mool Mantar. They are here. They were here, they are true before the ages, they were here and true at the start of the ages, they are here and true now, and they will be here and true forevermore because they are the infinite Lord. That is the teaching in this week's, the 29th Pauri of Sri Japji Sahib. In the next two Pauriyan, Guru Sahib Ji continues this discussion with the Siddhs, as the Siddhs are trying to convert Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji and get them to join their path, for them to preach their message and preach their word. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji continues explaining to the Siddhs to break free from this yogic way, this way of trying to claim occult powers, Riddhiyan Siddhiyan, and follow the path of spirituality so they can break free of the 8.4 million lives and become one with Vaheguru. I beg for forgiveness from the Saad sangat if I'm sure I made countless mistakes this week in explaining Sri Japji Sahib. You, the Saad sangat, can bless me with Brahm Gyan so I can continue sharing the teachings. I pray to Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, that he blesses us all with Guru Sikhi Di Daat, so we can all experience that bliss and that oneness with Vaheguru while we are living on this earth, breaking free from all the 8.4 million lives. Deho Sajjana Sishiriyan, Jio Hova Sahib Syo Mel, Ades, Tisa Ades, Ad Anil Anad Anahat, Jog Jog Eko Ves, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.